Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Scanlon, you lead us, please.
Yes, Your Honor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. All righty. Kathy, roll call, please.
Mayor Chapman?
Here.
Councilmember Bean? Here. Councilmember Furby? Here. Councilmember Scanlon?
Here.
Councilmember Skug?
All righty. Now we are moving on to public comment. It is a limit of 5 minutes per person. If you would like to speak, you would go to the podium there and give us a quick second to get the cameras all turned around, and just please name and address when you get up there.
Claudia Dummer, State 21 words.
Are we ready? Yes, we are good.
Okay, I'd like to work to the district lost 40 grade grade this money. And when is the city going to start the parking place for handicap places that don't come? You don't say you're going to contract it out. Waste of money. But I know we have equipment to do it. When I was on the council, we bought new equipment. The city is going into place. So get it done for the 4th of July. Or home built so nice. And when is the city going to fix all the spots where there were water leaks all over town? One on 7th Street is awful. Hopefully before the 4th of July. 3rd Street is bad. I would hope that can be fixed before the 4th, so the people in the parade can maneuver without mishap. And in the past, our city manager and our DPW supervisors took pride in having our city look nice for the 4th of July, but not anymore. These two just don't care. The city has a public hearing on May 30th, 2023, and the 2024 drinking water state revolving fund. The city's website said anyone could go to the city hall or UPEA to look at the material. So I went to UPEA and had no clue what I was talking about. So we made a call for Holden, to Chris Holden. We got everything together, and then a couple of days they were able to look at the material. You would think that the city would have told UPEA that people might come to review the material. Kind of embarrassing for UPEA. They didn't know that people don't review the material. Chris Holmes apologized, and I told him that it wasn't his fault. The city didn't let them know so they could be prepared. And if you don't like the negativity, then fix the problems. Hire more DPW employees. You have what? 15, 16 DPW employees. And you can't count the office manager, the general foreman, and the 3 at the parks, rec, and cemetery, or the mechanic and greaser. They don't go out and fix the roads. So that's 7 you can't use, so do the math. You're down to 8 and 9, and that doesn't account for vacations and sickness. Hire more DPW employees so we can get this town back to where it used to be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to? Okay, Mike.
Good evening, Mike Tonkin, 612 North 3rd Street, the lovely street where we bounce down every time we weave our way into town. I want to finish up what I started last meeting. I got cut off short because it was 5 minutes and I'm using it up already. Okay. My list of what people responded to me to when I was running my survey around town started with, don't answer the phones. Don't call back. Who's making policy decisions on the snow plowing? I know it's hard to talk snow plowing when it's 80 degrees out the day before. And you're gonna have one coming up here shortly about safety issues on the potholes on the streets. My truck is a rattle bucket as it is now, but it's gonna really start rattling pretty quick. But people also ask me, how much training are the guys getting to do their snow plowing work? Because we have a relatively new group of snowplow people. Because all of our old timers, even though I am an old timer, the old timers that I remember are gone. And I've talked to several of them, and they don't come up with good answers to my questions. And one of the problems that we have is that people have told me that they have no, what they're getting backfeed is no respect from the city. And that's a bad thing to have happen to us, because that's something that you very have a hard time maintaining respect. And another guy said, the council is tone deaf. And I said, these are what people have told me. They wonder what, and I've had several people just recently, I've got one today. They're discussing selling their home because they can't, not that they can't afford to live in it, but because the city is going downhill to the point where they can't get to work in the mornings in the wintertime. They can't drive up and down the streets without tearing up their vehicles. It's getting to be not a really nice place to live in because of the little things. And it's the little things that matter. And they always will, because you're talking about the roads are in tough shape, the plowing is terrible, the water bills are twice what they are in the township, the garbage bills are half or twice as much as in the township. And the feeling of the town is going downhill is starting to affect a lot of people. I've lost 4 neighbors in the last year alone within a block radius of my house that have moved out of town and had planned on staying here as they retire. But now they've made the decision to get out of their houses while they can and move on. And some of them aren't moving very far. They're moving into the townships and in the local area. So as we go on, my last tie-up on the last meeting was because of the snowplow issue on my alley, because it hadn't been plowed, right? Well, I also brought up that people said the council doesn't care. Well, it's hard to tell people care if on May 4th, this is after the last council meeting, on May 4th, 3rd Street sidewalks were not plowed the whole day. On May 5th, the next day, which was a Friday, the sidewalks were still not plowed. That is a safe path to school zone, going up 3rd Street and up 2nd Street, up to the Berkview School. It's a safe pathway to school. Well, I don't care if a snowplow got broke down or something else happens. We've got enough equipment in this city that we could at least plow one side of the street. There were kids walking up 3rd Street both days after school. There is no excuse for that. And to sit here and tell me you care about the way things go, and here are kids are walking up the street, in the street. And if you have to ask for volunteers to come and clear it off, maybe that's what we're down to. If we don't have enough people, we got to start figuring out how to get more people. So this, you got to start showing that you really care. It's easy to gab and say, yeah, we worry about this, we worry about that, but it's actions that show results. And it takes results to get people to change their minds. And the other thing that we talk about is that apparently we're not prepared when something happens. We don't think ahead. And I've been in this chair, so I know exactly what they're coming up with and what frustrations we have when we're sitting in new chairs up front. And I'm starting to wonder, we're getting short of DPW employees. It's either that or we're not putting the right people in the right positions with the right leadership. And when the leader of the group says that we don't have equipment to scrape the streets, is a real example of what type of leadership we're going to need pretty quick. So priorities for a lot of people are, they got to get to work, they got to get their kids to school safely, they want to keep everybody as safe as possible.
10 seconds, please. Wrap up, 10 seconds. Mike. Yep.
Oh, that's 7 more pages to go. So anyway, that's my spiel for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to get up? Okay.
Karen Casper, 111 Block Street, and I'm here on behalf of the Ishpeming Area Historical Society. We have some really good events coming up that last week in June, starting off with June 25th, which will be our home tour. And it will feature 2 places this year, Bethel Lutheran Church for refreshments and the history of the church,
And then we will be at the Maverick, because a lot of people are curious about what it looks like inside. So this is a chance to satisfy your curiosity. It runs from 12 to 4, and there's an admission fee of a donation of $10, which this is our main fundraiser for the year. So it goes to benefit us and helps us pay our rent and keep the lights on and that type of stuff. On the 29th of June, we will be having a free big screen showing of Anatomy of a Murder, because you really can't talk about the 150th anniversary of this town without talking about Anatomy of a Murder. It will be at the W.C. Peterson Auditorium. It starts at 6:30 p.m. And this is the anniversary of the very first showing of the movie. And it's also the anniversary of John Volker's birthday, which was probably why it was shown 64 years ago. On the 30th of June at 3 o'clock in the cemetery, we will have the kickoff event for the 2023 cemetery tour. And we will start at the sexton's office. If it's raining, we won't have it, but otherwise we will have a tour. And I've got some really interesting people on the tour this year, including Frederick Brastad, who most people in Ishpeming would probably recognize. And that's also a donation of $10, and it goes to benefit the Historical Society. And then, of course, on the 1st of July, we will have the Independence Day Parade. So, thank you very much.
Karen, we also have some special guests coming for that, do we not? Michigan Supreme Court Justice Elizabeth Welsh and Appellate Judge Michelle Rick will be at the Anatomy of a Murder showing and will be speaking.
Yes. Although I've told Jason their comments are limited to 30 minutes total because it's a long movie.
Yep. Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to speak? Okay.
Hello, Sarah Sands, 213 Angeline Street. My fiance and I moved here 2 years ago from just outside of Washington, D.C., which is admittedly a very difficult place to live for many reasons. But when looking for a new place to live, we wanted quiet, peaceful, safe, and just a slower pace of life, so we chose Ishpeming. This is the first house I've bought, and after COVID, like many others, both of us lost our jobs. We didn't have a huge budget, but we were able to find a really great house that just needed some hard work and love, and we are incredibly proud of what we've done with it so far. We moved almost 1,000 miles to Ishpeming, and we couldn't be happier and more thankful for our house, the friends that we've made here, and this little spot that we get to call home. We didn't grow up here like many of our neighbors. We've heard the stories of those who have spent their entire lives in our neighborhood, the neighborhood of Salisbury. I understand that that neighborhood has likely gone through many changes, but as it is today, there are a lot of families in Salisbury that are trying to raise their children in a safe place. Additionally, my fiance and I and many others are working very hard to better our houses, better our neighborhood, but it seems that Salisbury has been ignored by the city for years. Bottom line is, and contrary to some unfortunate and frankly ignorant comments that I've seen on the Facebook page, that Salisbury should just be bulldozed to the ground, for example, there are really good people there, there are families, and we do pay Ishpeming city taxes, just like everyone else, though our roads would not reflect that. We are in dire need of new roads, not just repairs that will likely not work anyway. I am not trying to be cheesy by telling you this story. I'm just trying to bring an outsider's perspective. In the short amount of time we've lived here, we've noticed a very real sense of sort of a classism, that somehow Salisbury neighborhood is on the wrong side of the tracks and should just be completely ignored. The world is upside down right now. I think we can all agree with that. And it is incredibly divided. And it seems really silly and counterintuitive to further divide this small community even further. It's time to come together and make our community stronger. We're not asking for much. We're just asking what's expected from our city as taxpayers. We don't want to be ignored, and we ask that you please listen, step up, fix our roads. We can do better than this, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and welcome to Ishpeming. We appreciate you.
My name is Becky Morcom. I live at 217 Dawson Street. I'm here in question of the city ordinance in regards to abandoned and blight properties in the city limits, particularly Salisbury, where I have lived for 20-some years. 2 years ago, I had sent you pictures and a letter about 201 Douglas Street that has been left abandoned. I also have 145 Douglas Street to the right of me that has been abandoned and vacant for 12 years, has no foundation, and is unsafe. And there is a house behind me at the end of Dawson Street that is a dump, and a gentleman is living in a camper. The city inspector has been up in my area and said that he would try to get them on the blight list. I just want to know, according to ordinance 7-100, these are unsafe buildings and they should be condemnable. And if they're not on the blight list, what happens? Who's responsible? There's probably 10 to 15, 9 to 13-year-old kids in our neighborhood who are in and out of this building doing who knows what. I would hate to see somebody to get hurt. So even if they don't make the blight list, I would like somebody to be responsible for making them safe for the children in our neighborhood.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Can we name and address quick?
Michael Jennings,
Okay,
672 Duncan.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, I have heard they were putting in proposed an ordinance for campers in the city. I heard that on the local news. It sounded like they wanted to eliminate it, eliminate people to have them on their property. I have people I know that may visit me for a couple days at a time that, travel in their RV. Is it a problem for someone that visits you for a few days to a couple weeks to be able to park their RV in your driveway? For just a short period of time, or are you guys thinking about just having it none at all at any time?
I don't know that that's.
Yeah, we've taken that has been tabled, and we're kind of looking at reworking that ordinance with community input. So as of right now, we're not bringing that up for a vote.
Can you tell me what tabled means?
Yeah, we just decided to basically set it aside for right now.
No action, it
Yeah,
dies.
yeah, no action on it right now.
You won't see that ordinance again.
Oh, you won't, okay. Well, I didn't know if table meant that you set it aside for a week or a month and then revisit again. I didn't know what table meant.
Well, yeah, we may revisit certain parts of that, but that ordinance in itself, we've just thrown it away, basically.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you for speaking. Okay, anybody else for public comment? Okay.
John Schooler, 772 Michigan Street. I don't know if anybody recognizes me. I got rid of all my hair from the winter time. So anyway, I just a few things. I mean, we had the company that you guys had hired for communications. I know that got kind of set to the side a little bit because there was an issue. So I don't know if that's getting close to we're going to do anything with that when that's going to start. I don't want to keep going over. I mean, everybody's going over the potholes, but I think we need to figure out filling the potholes is not the issue. I mean, and there's a lot of potholes that they'll go down the street, and then they'll fill a couple here, and then like I'm on Michigan, so when you come off the third, there was one right there they filled. You go halfway down the street, they didn't fill. Then you go almost to the end between that and 5th Street, they didn't fill. And then you get to the intersection, and then they filled a couple, and then there's like one here, and then one here that they don't fill. And I get it, I understand, but Third Street is a big issue. There's the issue right by the ice cream place there, in front of the funeral home. That's a horrible one. I mean, those have been filled and filled and filled. They're just getting worse and worse. There's on either side of Phelps, and I had a little incident with my motorcycle. Thank God I didn't wreck or anything, but $4,100 damage to it. Hit a pothole. Yeah, I was told that I could avoid it. Well, I could have. I could have hit a car too, or hit the kids by the sidewalk. It was a little dark out, so I nailed the pothole that's been there for months. I was about that deep, about that big, square right with my tire. Just put a brand new 21-inch tire on it, which now has to be replaced. And my fender. So $4,100 damage to a motorcycle, I mean, is something, and it's not cheap for any vehicle. And we need to figure out if we can find a company that's out of Gwin. They have a big iron on the back of the truck. They lay it down, the width of the truck, 4 feet, it heats up, reheats all that blacktop, and fill what they need to fill. They have to add some, and roll over it. And what's it, Brandon? Brandon talking. You see it done in a lot of parking lots. I think we need to see if we can figure out how to put this in the budget. Because I'm not trying to say that the other is not doing the job. I mean, I get it. It's not this bottle of water. Not this industry. There's a lot of things that go on. I understand that. We're getting farther and farther behind. And we need to figure out another way to do something. I think we can come up with using that company. Doesn't take much. I don't know what they charge, I can't tell you, but I would hope that we can find it in our budget, especially for on my corner, 7th in Michigan, one of the manholes with a catch basin in it, it was a big one. I talked to the manager, he said, "We find this one is far back, caved in, and we have new kids that moved in on the corner, and they have they don't leave yard, but I can see the whole this way next to the manhole. And it drops down about 2 feet. And I would hate to see somebody walking a dog and, something happen. Possible very way. We need to step up and figure out where we can pull money out of four road repairs correctly. I know Third Street needs to be completely redone. Many years since it's been there. I know there's way more roads that we need to get. We need to figure out something. Putting cold patch in is not working like it won't be hard when they activate it and do that and go to compact it down. I watch the guys, I'm not complaining. I got maybe I am, but I watch them go do the front end loader. They're just throwing it in there, he runs over it. And you gotta get hands there, just bring it up. When they throw a bottle, they have to overproof. They're just throwing it in there to a roof level, and you're not.
10 seconds, please.
So, we can figure out. That's all I can say.
John, before you sit down, is that situation at 7th and Michigan guarded? Okay, then?
There's a cone after there.
It keeps falling.
It keeps going down, or it gets knocked over, and I'm just saying, if you guys need to go look at it. I know I talked to the city manager last week at the meeting about the water. Project that we got.
Could we get a hold of somebody to get up there right away? We don't want somebody dropping into that. Thank you.
Because I said last year, remember to cut it. When they were doing the Empire Street, they went out there and cut the blacktop out. That's as far as it went.
We just gotta make it safe,
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah. Because that whole manhole is starting to do, so I mean, it's a whole brick catch basin. 3/4 of it is probably gone now.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak? Public comment? Okay, go ahead. And real quick, I will address one thing. The city manager and I did go down to Lansing to ask for more money for roads because we need about $80 million to do all of the infrastructure in the city. And, so I do want to address that. It is expensive and we're trying, and there is more money in the budget this year. We just don't know what we're going to get. Sorry. Go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Mary Farmer, I live on 415 South Lake Street, going to the church and I'm complaining about the yards in this town. Why are people so cheap? You know, you're outside and you're inside. Then I've always said that. And then I see the overboard and back to them. These people, and the people that have the ordinances, 3 yards, I sort of in the house. She had 3 years in the and all the vehicles that are all over in the valleys, there's no place. You know, there's no insurance. Something's gotta be done to that too. Maybe it's wrong, you gotta go with it. You can't follow up with it. When is the church going down?
I think they already started, Mary. There's a lift there and they're, it would be on the south side. They've been up, I just looked at it tonight, they
Yeah.
started tearing the roofing off.
Are we gonna take that down?
Slowly, I think. I think they're gonna have to do it from buckets for a
Yeah.
while and then start with an excavator. But we'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Yes, we will.
But anyway, you know, it's really weird to think about it. It's cool. It's just going on. So things that are cool or whatever. Okay. That's right now.
Thank you. No. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to speak for public comment? Okay, is there anybody in Zoom world? I don't believe there are any people, but we will check. Participants. Yeah. No attendees? No. Okay, last call public comment. All righty, we are now moving on to approval of the agenda.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented with, with one exception. I would like to remove item number 13 pending the attorney's final review of the ordinance amendment.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the agenda is adopted. Now, is there anybody in the room that would like to speak to something that is on the agenda? You have a 3-minute limit if you would like to speak to something that is on our agenda.
Can you tell me what this anti ordinance is, the second reading? Who's that 1300? Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Yeah.
So public comment and agenda comment is typically, and somewhat unfortunately, not a back and forth discussion where you ask questions and then we answer them. If we did it that way, we would probably be here all night, every night. The packet does have the agenda, or does have those items in it. And this is also a second reading of it, which means that it has been
Mhm.
reviewed. That was almost 3 months ago that it was reviewed.
And
If you have a specific question or wanted to speak to a specific item that is part of that, this would be the opportunity to do it, but this is unfortunately not really the opportunity to ask.
Can you give me a copy of it and then so I can read along?
yeah, so when we get down to that on the agenda, we can kind of go over that a little bit more in depth. And if you want to reserve a spot to talk then, okay. Yes, go ahead. That is fine. Okay, moving on. Anybody else for agenda comment? Okay, go ahead. You'll have 3 minutes for agenda comment. Go ahead.
Let's see. Number 13, request another piece of equipment. I don't know really what the third part is going to do, work out. Back for other pieces of equipment that really rarely does get used, so I'm just kind of questioning on what other or if we're going to use it other than parts. I don't know if it should be. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be, but if it's being used more than once or twice, that would be really great because I hope we use it, but I think we can get the money elsewhere.
Okay, well, we'll probably explain what that is when we get down to that on the agenda.
No, I just, this is my question, so.
Okay. All righty.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Is anybody else? No one on Zoom? Okay, we are now moving on to the consent agenda. So we have minutes of the previous meeting, May 3rd and 30th, closed session, May 3rd, approval of disbursements, declare 4 large folding tables at the Carnegie Library as surplus, confirm target market analysis funding contribution, $2,500, confirm appointment of Kaylee Reno to fill vacancy on the library board with a term expiring 5/2024.
Honor, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support, we have motion and support. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda is adopted. Moving on, monthly financial statement report. Who's taking her? All righty.
Thank you. My name is Grant. I am the current city treasurer. I'm filling in for Joe, who is acting as city manager tonight. We did make some small adjustments to this report, just broke it out a little more, made it a little clearer. You can see the prior month balance included in there. If you want to follow along, we have a general fund balance currently at $989,000, a decrease of $44,000 from last month. A major street fund balance of $573,794.61, a decrease of $14K, or an increase of $14K from the prior month. A local street funding of $716,802.72, a decrease of $277.68 from the prior month. DDA, current fund balance of $738,380.96, an increase of $8,209 from the prior month. Public Improvement Fund, $879,956.77, a decrease of $31,000 from the prior month. Sewer Fund, we have a $10.7 million fund balance, an increase of $54,000 from the prior month. Water Fund, a $10.1 million balance, an increase of $98,000 from the prior month. Garbage and Recycling Fund, $450K current balance, an increase of $24,000 from the prior month. Motor Pool and Equipment Fund, $1.38 million current balance, an increase of $27,000 from the prior month. And finally, Police and Fire Retirement, we have $4.7 million fund balance, no change from the prior month. In total, the funds displayed above We have a current balance in all $31,115,807.04.
Okay,
Your Honor, I make a motion we accept the financial report as presented.
okay, we have motion and support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Monthly financial statement report is accepted. Moving on, number 9, special events. Special event application and temporary liquor license, Shelley's Rainbow Bar, June 30th, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Your Honor, after looking this over, if the police chief agrees, I move that we allow them to have their special event application approved.
Now, second.
Okay, are you good with that, chief? Excellent. Okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Special event application is adopted. Moving on, number 10, second reading of amendment to ordinance 2-300, breach of peace, disorderly persons, and misdemeanors. Chad, you want to give us, Chief, you want to give us a little update on this one here, please? Just summary and what we're doing here.
Sure. This one was the one we were looking to add for the open intox in public. I understand there's lots of other crimes out there as well. A lot of them are covered under state that we do enforce. However, this one is not really covered under the state law. References walking around downtown with a beer, open beer, which we do have an issue with. And we have had to use other means to try to enforce this. This just gives our guys a little extra tool to help us. We don't have to. One of the problems we have is a lot of broken glass downtown, bottles being broken. They take out of bars and they walk around at night, and this is just another tool for our guys to kind of use and kind of enforce it.
So I have a quick question. I'm seeing a lot of communities move to having social districts downtown, and that they, a social district can be as long, bigger, pretty much as big as they want, or it can be as small as a block. If we adopt this and moving forward, we eventually want to adopt a social district for a particular area, would that conflict with this?
This wouldn't affect that because that would, if you
Supersede
did do
it.
that, it would kind of supersede it as
Okay.
it's kind of, the state's allowing you to do that now, but it's kind of more in a fenced off area.
Okay.
Or more of a local area, and it's no bottles, it's cups that have to be purchased. And this is, like I said, this is people walking around with glass bottles, and we've had other incidents with that. I think this just kind of gives, like I said, gives them a different tool to.
Keeping our city clean too. Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
We need to make a motion. For
Yes,
second reading.
we do.
I will make a motion to accept the second reading of
Ordinance 2-300.
2-300, breach of peace, disorderly persons, and misdemeanors.
Okay. Support. Any discussion? I do have one thing on ordinances. Caroline, are you good with this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's my only question. Any other questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Ordinance number 2-300 is amended. Moving on. Second reading of amendment to ordinance 2-400 fireworks. Chief, please.
Sure. So this ordinance is just putting us back up to the state level when it comes to the fireworks ordinance. When we first came up with this years ago, the state, when they started allowing fireworks for personal use and that, they didn't actually have a state law. So local governments could create the ordinance for hours and that. Now they have came up with the law in the last couple of years, we're kind of not on par with that. So this is just basically keeping us on par with the state.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the amendment to ordinance 2-400 fireworks.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Caroline, you're good with this?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ordinance number 2-400 is adopted. Moving on. Number 12, second reading of ordinance 2-1300, anti-camping ordinance. Can you give us a little bit of an explanation on this one? And that way, if the gentleman has a question, we can let him speak after that.
Sure, this ordinance came about as one of the issues we've had the last couple of summers. This isn't for people's private property. This is more for city-owned property, public, open to the public type of property. We have had an issue over the last couple of years, especially off of the Heritage Trail. Unfortunately, we do have a homeless population up here in the Upper Peninsula now, and we've located several camps. Unfortunately, we call them the homeless camps, and last year we had a couple incidents where we actually had some of the council members help clean them up, but we also had church members clean up. And kids were picking up needles left and right off these camps.
Yeah.
It's just a danger not only to the kids, of course, it's a danger to my officers when we're going out there cleaning up these needles. This gives us a little bit more of a tool to kind of push them away. And I hate to see our town become like some of the towns I've seen on the West Coast, especially when we have tents set up on sidewalks, cots down there and that type of stuff. The whole idea that we've been trying for years is to clean stuff up. I believe this helps with us cleaning that area up because we do have an issue with the camps. I mean, we've cleaned up a ton over the last couple of years. So I think this, just like I said, there's not too much we can do at this point. We do try to move them along and come up with creative ways. However, this just gives us that extra thing, and hopefully we can get it cleaned up before the needles are out there and the kid gets poked or one of us gets poked.
Yeah, and I think we need to take a step and start thinking about the homeless population too. And it's not just a city of Marquette issue. We're facing that here too. So
it's a Marquette countywide issue.
It is.
It is, and this is one part that everyone here wants to keep the city clean and do different things. This is one part to help it.
Yep, I agree, and I think we have to have a larger conversation too, but for this ordinance, does that answer your question, sir?
Part of the question is answered. If someone were to, visit or in their RV,
Come to your place?
you come to my place, stay there for a couple nights and leave, is that being camping?
That is not the camping, the anti-camping that we're referring to in this ordinance. Like I said, more tents on public property such as city-owned property, not your own private land, not your own private driveway. It's not referring to that.
Yep.
A lot of it is referring to land that's owned over by the Heritage Trail. We've had lots of tents set up there, and we've had lots of issues, that type of stuff.
Yeah, so if you have
it's not
somebody
referring
that,
to that.
It's not, well, I couldn't know the moment into camping, I think if someone goes to a campground, in their RV, that's usually what I thought. But I guess obviously this isn't the same idea.
No, it's more referred to, unfortunately, like I said before, it's more referred to the homeless type stuff we unfortunately have.
okay. So yeah, to answer your question, you are allowed to have someone visit you and camp in your yard, yes. Yep.
And I think just for clarification's sake, so this ordinance, so when we, in April, when this set of ordinances was first brought up, we had the first reading, we are doing 3 ordinances which have second reading. At the time that these 3 were brought up, there was a 4th. It did refer to recreational vehicles parked on private property. And as Mayor Chapman stated at the beginning of the meeting, that particular ordinance was not brought back for a second reading. That particular ordinance, as it was written, has died. And I think that you're not the only, I think that there were several people who may have reviewed the anti-camping ordinance to actually have been the one that was referencing recreational vehicles parked on private property. I think even the news got that wrong. Actually, I think that they called it the anti-camping and said it's for recreational vehicles. So just to clarify, as the chief just said, this is predominantly having to do with public property, the recreational vehicle ordinance that we are not continuing to act on had to do with recreational vehicles on private property. That being said, I do believe that there is still an issue that was attempting to be solved, and someone who's already spoken during public comment at this meeting who said that someone is living in a recreational vehicle on blighted property, which was part of what that proposed ordinance would have addressed.
Yeah.
And I do intend to bring that back up. The particular ordinance, the way it was written, has gone away, but what it was attempting to fix and to solve and to give the officers an enforceable document and set of guidelines has not gone away, and that will be revisited. But that one, as it was written, is gone. And so we would start over then with a new ordinance, we should go through the same process of first reading, second reading, et cetera.
Yes.
Good. So
Maybe, can you maybe clarify that, when you guys come around this law, that you know what people reading it, and know what it means?
well, so I mean, it's called the anti-camping ordinance. The ordinance, it does specify public property, and the others will specify private property and whatever other applicable details there are to it. For this one in particular, because they were introduced together, I think there was confusion, which was furthered by the fact that the news reported on it and did not have it correct. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody here understood that that's what this is, and that moving forward, that's kind of the process. And obviously, we would have to continue to discuss moving forward on the recreational vehicle side of things. I'm stating that from my own perspective at the moment, we're not taking action on it in this moment.
Yeah, and I support Councilmember Bean's desire to bring that back up and draft a new ordinance to address some of the problems, but still listening to what the members of the public have also brought forward to this council and have expressed. So like Councilmember Bean said, it will have to go through the same process again, so the public will be able to look at it, they'll be able to comment on it, and see exactly what we are, again, trying to do, and moving on, so.
So in this case, I would make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2-1300, anti-camping ordinance, not to be confused with the RV ordinance.
Perfect. All right, we have a motion and support. Caroline, you're good?
Yes, I am.
All righty, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ordinance is passed. All right, and we have removed the ordinance 2-500 from the agenda. That will not be taken up tonight. All right, now we are moving on to DPW request to purchase equipment, kerf cutter. What is a kerf cutter, sir?
So in the winter, the valve boxes, water valve boxes, they heave because of the frost, and then the plows go by and they break them off pretty regularly. This is actually a grinder that grinds them from the inside. So the way that we do valve boxes right now that are broken, you actually have to take the jackhammer and make a hole approximately foot and a half, unscrew the box, 4 foot length, screw a new one in, blacktop that one in, and you still get the same result. This tool actually grinds off the broken part from the inside, and there's a traffic flange that slides up and down as the frost goes up and down, or if a plow were to hit it, it would go up and down. Just to say 20, I know there's more than 20 right now that are broken, but just pick out 20 that are broken. The old way would cost us $10,000 to do the repair. With this machine, it would cost $2,500. So on 20 valve boxes, you're saving $7,600 alone. It's new technology. We just haven't pursued it before, but now we're looking to do it right now.
No, Bill, the pictures show round, most of ours are round, correct?
Mhm.
So it works on those as well as
Yep.
if there was a rectangular one or.
No, they're just the brown valve boxes.
Around.
So if you go down Empire now, That new flange that looks bigger than the normal ones, that's a heaving flange. This machine would actually cut the old one so that we can install this on there.
Oh, good example of this is on Second Street, I think, South Second. There are.
I think so. Yeah. Well, behind the high school, you'll see a bunch of broken valve boxes.
Okay, there's definitely one on Second Street. I looked at it, it's broken, and it's got a jagged edge on it.
Yep.
Oh, I guess it's like that. The jagged edges. I am curious, because before I knew this was on the agenda, I had been walking and seen that, and was curious about it. So it would cost $10,000 to fix them?
Say 20 of them right now.
Okay. And then you said 2,500, but the cost that's on here is 3,750, is that?
So the old way of doing one box is $500. The new way would be $126.
Oh. So that's
The machine itself is, I forget what the price that was.
So, I got you, so it's
Yeah.
100,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's $2,500 in addition then to the
Correct.
$3,750.
Yeah, there's just, between the old way and the new way, you're gonna save about $7,600 just to do 20 of them.
So the motion would have to be for 3,750, correct?
Correct, for the purchase of the curve cutter.
I will actually be happy to make this motion myself. It's a good thing.
Your Honor, I'll support the motion and make the statement that this is a step toward what we're talking about. I mean, we've got lots of steps, but this is actually a small step toward our big problem, so I think it's excellent.
I do too.
You should put that one on Second Street.
I will.
South Second.
Okay, we do have a motion and support. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. We'll grab us another, grab that. That'll be well received, I think. Okay, moving on. Recommendation from Cemetery Board to amend the dates for winter burials. Who can explain this one now?
So currently, your winter burial rate, or winter burial is from December 1st through March 31st.
Yep.
Our winter parking ban is December 1st through April 30th because of the amount of snow that we continue to get through the year. So we want to get our cemetery board more in line with the winter months. We still, if you cut it off on March 31st, you still have a month of snow and that you still have to deal with.
Correct.
So it's just trying to get everything in line.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we do go along with the cemetery board's recommendation and change the end of the winter burial period from March 31st to April 30th.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on. Number 16, UPCO utility easement for Mountain Road. Caroline?
Yes, this is an odd one. These lines have been out on Mountain Road for years and years. And it was discovered that the paperwork hadn't caught up with them. And so L. Pierce had worked a lot with UPCO and gotten the easement. And you can see there's a drawing attached to show you where it is. So this is an effort to get the documents filed so that for planning purposes and for anyone that's buying property out there, they'll be able to look in the land records and find out where the easements are. And because it already exists, I don't think we need to go through the usual three-step procedure under the charter to grant a property interest, because in fact, we couldn't retract this one if we tried. It's been there too long.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'll move that we go along with the easement for UPCO as described in attorney's report and dispose with the steps because of the fact that it's been there since forever, to make it effective immediately.
I'll support it. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I will sign that whenever you need me to. Okay, moving on, number 17, update on Police Academy Recruit Grant Program. Chief.
So I just want to touch base with the council on this one and give you kind of an update. So couple months back, we had agreed to, we ended up putting 2 recruits through the academy, and I was gonna put in for a grant, and at that time, the grant was, they were gonna pay for the academy and give us like 4,000 toward the wages that we had to pay them during the academy. However, after you guys had approved that, the state started changing it a little bit. So what I did was I basically recanted my grant. I rewrote the grant, and I'm happy to report that we have received $48,000. So 27,000 per recruit, basically, or 24, sorry. And it's gonna pay for the academy, which is about 6,600, and whatever's left over goes toward all the expenses for their wages and that. So instead of the 4,000 we're gonna get, I mean, it's close to 18, 19,000 we'll get towards them recruits. So that to me has worked out pretty good. I'm also happy to report our recruits are doing well in the academy, and we hope to have them on board at the end of August.
Chief, you continue to amaze me that you are doing one heck of a job. Thank you. All righty, moving on. Proposal from Prime Specialty Contracting for air conditioning repairs / replacement at Carnegie Library.
So the air conditioners on the main floor of the library, there's 2 units. Let me get my numbers here. They were installed in 2015 with $20,000 donated for private funds. Starting in the summer of 2021, they've had repeated issues with these units in the top floor, not in the basement. So 2 of the 3 units have constantly been resoldered and re-energized with refrigerant. This year, they won't even work on them anymore because there's just no point in it. They're just gonna keep chasing the problem. The library was 86 degrees last week.
Yeah.
There's a quote in here to do the entire thing to replace the inside and the outside unit is $15,545. A cheaper way of going, if you just want to replace the internal unit and continue to use the 8-year-old external unit, that's $62.93. But it's by recommendation that you guys replace the whole entire unit because these things are 8 years old. But I wanted to give you both options.
Where would we be pulling the money from on this one?
There is funds available that are.
Public improvement?
This is a capital. We're replacing the capital purchase there too. To do that, so we make that.
Okay, I will make a motion that we go along with the foreman's recommendation and replace these systems for a cost of $15,545.
Support. One question I have is, have we been doing the maintenance on these?
Yeah, and we have Prime Specialty coming in and doing stuff on them, but these are, it's the internal copper is just getting so worn out that every time you do a repair, it breaks like an inch away. So then they'll do a repair and it breaks an inch away.
So,
They're just not gonna do them anymore.
so the difference is, I'm not talking about do we do repairs, do we do maintenance quarterly or something? Have them
We check them out.
inspected.
Yeah, we check them out every year.
Okay, so we have a motion and support. Any further discussion?
The one other
Yeah, go ahead.
question, Your Honor, Joel, was your answer that the money's coming from public improvement?
Yeah, there's funds available for it, and this would be, even if this was a planned purchase, we would plan the purchases from the public improvement fund,
Okay.
which is for capital replacement of the equipment and purchases.
And do,
Very well.
this isn't something we have to do like a budget amendment for or anything? We do?
Well, there will be budget amendments coming up for
Okay.
July, and
Oh, perfect.
so
Okay, you'll have it
we
for
will
us
get
then.
this addressed with that at the same time.
Okay, perfect.
We'll make lots of amendments for the police chief over there, he keeps bringing in more money.
Hey, I'm happy with that. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, number 19, review discussion of City Council Rules of Procedure Policy number 601. I'd like to turn this over to Caroline for a little bit of her legal suggestions for something like this.
So this is my attempt to compile a whole lot of notes that I've picked up over.
Hey, guys, can we please, if you need to speak, can you kind of go out into the hallway a little bit, please? Thank you.
Like I said, it's my attempt to compile a whole lot of notes that I have from various meetings and things that people have mentioned, and some other provisions that I found that seem to be fairly well time tested from other councils. And I put them together in the hope that they're in some semblance of order, and they're just here for you to consider, discuss, pick apart, throw away, do whatever you want.
Yep.
But it is important that you look at adopting a set of council rules.
I agree, and I think it would also be beneficial to have some type of even a handbook that has everything that you would need during a meeting in like the front of it, and then you would have the remainder of the council rules and procedures in the back of that piece, because it would not only help us current council members, but it would help future members of the council, where they could have a little book that's the size of maybe our charter, and they could have a piece that they can reference both during the meeting and the more in-depth stuff after meetings. And I think that's something I would like to see.
That's actually sort of a suggestion, very much like one that Kathy had come up with, is how about a cover sheet, a cheat sheet, a quick reference kind of a thing that would be just things that would be really useful to have at a glance during a meeting. And perhaps reference whatever page or paragraph you could get more information, so you're not looking through 10 or 12 pages trying to find something during a meeting.
I think that would be great.
So once we had a more set of rules, that would be easier to put together.
So do you want us to take these back and put in our suggestions and bring to the next meeting? Do you want us to have like an open dialogue now? How do you, what's your recommendation?
That's up to you. I had thought originally it might work to have 1 or 2 council members just form a committee for 1 or 2 meetings to sit and review and bring back.
I think that's a great idea.
But, obviously, the product of that might be something that would have sort of different options. So if you want to do something like with public comment, it might be option A, option B, so that the full council wouldn't be cheated out of their opportunity to review. That's one suggestion. You can review them here and now if you want to. It's more up to you. I just thought I'd throw them out there so you'd see what I was talking about.
Your Honor, I would move that we take the time to review this as a council. I don't know that I would at this point like to see a subcommittee. I would like to see all 5 of us, whether it's next month or sooner at a special meeting. But I think Caroline took all the trash out. Now we need to, I didn't get to go through it real well. I got some other really big stuff going, but I would like to, I intend to.
Same, yeah.
And I think that we at least report back next month, whether it's with possible additions or stuff for Caroline to review.
So I guess this is what I was going to suggest is at one point, and it actually fits into this. At one point, Councilmember Furby and I had asked that we have a standing second meeting in the month for like special meetings and something. That way we have like an actual day that is, we know not to schedule anything on our own because it's a council day. You remember when we talked about that? Like we would have our normal council meeting, and then the 2 weeks later would be our option for our special second council meeting for the month. That way we're not having to scramble to do special meetings.
Normally, I would disagree with that. The state of the city right now warrants that. So I don't know that I would say we should do it from now on, but at least for the near future, I think that would be a good idea.
I agree.
We had discussed this previously, and at the time, I was very much in favor of this, and without completely reacting that, I do recall that there were some back and forth. I think Kathy, I remember we had some pretty heavy discussion around the logistics of having a time set aside from a staff standpoint, and also from just kind of a planning, like if planning falls at a certain time. And so I think at that time we had been meeting, we had had a number of special meetings, and that part we had prompted that, set aside a second date.
Yeah.
And if I recall, we went back and forth on that for a little while and ultimately decided that it didn't make sense to do that logistically from people planning for something and then not having it happen, and the staff planning around something and then maybe not having it happen. And so I'm fine leaving it the way it is, where we schedule additional special meetings on there on some basis as they come up. So I can't recall all of the specific reasons, but I know that we discussed this quite thoroughly sometimes in the last year and a half. One of the issues is that sometimes there's not special meetings happening, and do the grant, you just have it, you just schedule fairly quickly, so that's there's.
Well, the logistics that I recall that caused the problem were the agenda, because it has to be a special meeting, because charter doesn't recognize it.
Right.
So you have to make it a special meeting, then the logistics kick in as to what the agenda says, and the time on it, and can you add things to the agenda? So we can't take that action without Caroline reviewing it, because we're probably gonna violate the charter if we don't. We normally, in the past, we have said we need a special meeting for the water issue.
So I did sit with Caroline and talk about the idea of a second council meeting. It will be a special council meeting that's set, and if we don't need it, we just cancel it. Right? Isn't that what we were talking about?
That's what we had discussed before. However, I'm a little confused how we went from the council rules to scheduling a standing special meeting.
Because it's council rules and procedures. That's why I brought it up now.
I thought the way that it kind of ended was that, yes, it didn't work to have this standing meeting every month, but I thought amongst us, we would agree that in the event another meeting comes up, we'll try the Wednesday following the regular meeting clear in case something needs to be scheduled.
That would just be so much easier.
That makes more sense.
It does. And that's
What you want to avoid is can you make it, can Stewie make it, can I make it? Well, 5 ain't gonna work, it's gotta be, if we just in our own little group, no schedule, said 2 weeks from tonight, kind of keep that open, keep it in mind.
where I would like to see us
But
go.
I don't think we can formalize anything.
I agree.
You know, I had, 2 weeks ago, I had an entire week of stuff, and I think that some of that special meeting was scheduled in accommodation, in an understanding of the fact that I was off that entire week, and people go on vacation, and do all sorts of other things.
So,
and I think if we were to review these council rules in depth, and come back with them, with some thoughts for changes or whatever at the next month, I would find the only, and I mean, I've read them over fairly closely, the only thing on here that I see immediately that I would want change is on page 10 in public participation. And I think that we have informally, some people have discussed this, but the removal of the second public comment at the end of the meeting, since that was added, so that was added, I think, just to the agenda, but not added initially to this council rules document, which is why, correct me if I'm wrong, Carolyn, we added this in here because it's something that we have been doing, but it was
There was council action a couple years ago, I think, to add that, and you have been doing it ever since.
Yes, and so this is, so you added this in here to reflect that change. I would like to see that removed from here and also removed from the agenda, so that there is no second public comment.
I firmly disagree. I think I know, pretty sure Marquette allows a second public comment, and I think it gives the members of the public just 3 more minutes to be able to discuss what they like, but it also gives them the discussion to reflect on anything that we've done during the meeting. I think we should leave that public comment on there. It doesn't hurt us, but it allows more public interaction.
So I would be comfortable if we also just would drop down what our changes want to be, and then we do the next regular meeting, and come back and have an agenda item and discuss it.
Or we can even set up a workshop, we'd rather do it that way, but.
For the benefit of the way we're listed on the agenda for discussion, as long as Lindsay brought that up. If you remember right, the cold hard facts that I stated was the first public comment is plenty. We don't need a second public comment. We have a way to measure that now. We can go back and read, because I think there's been a lot of repetitiveness, right or wrong. A lot of people that did first public comment might have hit the same thing on agenda comment if it was, and if not, the same thing on the second public comment. We now have records of that. But that being said, I would be against removing it right now because of the state we're in. We have issues that I think it's just bad timing. Completely agree with you. Maybe in a year, I would say, yeah, let's end that. But I think right now that we are committed to our citizens, to give them as many opportunities to talk to us as possible. So I agree with what you're saying. I just think the timing is. But again, like Elizabeth said, when we come next month, we have it on the agenda again.
Okay, so we just want to review those and come back. We don't want to have any workshop on it. We just want to just hash it out at the next council meeting. Okay, all right.
If anyone has suggestions that, especially things that weren't included, would you feel free to just email them to me?
Sure.
That way we could, if there is an addendum, we can put that in the packet from everybody, so you'll have sort of a comprehensive.
Sort it out a little bit first.
Right, because if you sit down and read them, I didn't realize, I guess you didn't get these till the last day or two. I'm not sure, but, so you haven't had a whole lot of time to look at them. Actually, if I'd realized that, I've got about 6 more suggestions for you.
Well, you have time.
Yeah.
But it might be helpful to just get that all out, so you've got one place you can look at everything for next time.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, I mean, I think obviously all suggestions have to kind of form into the way like Robert's rules and the way the charter is too. So,
Right.
Okay. All right.
Good plan.
All righty, we'll bring that up next meeting. Okay, moving on to number 20, authorize mayor to sign lease amendment with CCI to extend original lease number 3581 Suicide Hill Ski Area. I believe we have members of the ski club here too. Mr. Ziegler is here. Thank you. And Caroline.
Yeah, this is actually the lease that the city has with Cliffs.
Yep.
And then the city has subleased some or all of that property to the ski club. So this is the lease with Cliffs, and city staff has been talking with Cliffs representatives about all of this property. And what this does is it just extends the current lease as is for 25 years, so that there's plenty of time to look at other options that may be available.
Perfect.
Just to give time to talk.
The backstory on this, after this year's suicide tournament, Jason and myself and the city manager met with the ski club and a few of those people up at the chamber. And there was a lot of confusion that was not beneficial to the city of Ishpeming, the Ishpeming Ski Club, or the tournament. And we talked with the ski club. It's the Ishpeming Ski Club. It's been in Ishpeming for over 100 years. And we don't need people lurking around trying to steal the event or trying to control us. The lease has been through the city to the ski club, and that has been our intention the whole time, continues to be our intention. It's not anything that's going to affect the ski club other than positively. I just want to make that clear. The last landmark that we had with Cliffs, and it's been quite a few years, was to buy that property, and they had all their land tied up legally because of big money issues.
They had basically hedged everything.
It was not an option. It's probably coming to be an option again. And we want right of first refusal on behalf of the ski club. So at the point that that even happens, the ski club is still guaranteed to remain at the Suicide Bowl. And just like we do with the senior center, the Ski Hall of Fame, we own all of those. We signed a 50-year lease for $1. We don't want nothing to do with it. We want our citizens and the people in the neighborhood, and in this case, the people of the nation, to continue to have Ishpeming as the home of ski jumping. So this is kind of a big deal for us and the ski club to get this locked in for another 25 years and hopefully lead to purchase on behalf of the ski club.
And I want to reflect on that meeting a little bit too, because, I was involved with the Ishpeming Ski Club for actually the majority of my life. And it is, it has a special spot in my heart. And I know that it is an integral part of the city of Ishpeming. And, I think Pat and I really, and the city manager, really emphasized in that meeting that we want to be the partners for the Ishpeming Ski Club. We want to be there trying to be a resource, trying to figure out how we can make improvements out there, in areas where the city can get funds for. And a long-term lease is one step to doing that, because I know that there's a lot of roadblocks when it can be a year-to-year thing, because there's no, the grants that are available look at that and say, well, it could, it's a year-to-year lease or something, we can't really give you a grant for that or a loan. But exactly what Pat is saying is trying to get to a point where we can buy it and solidify that and remain the home and birthplace of skiing in the United States.
Your Honor, I will move that we authorize yourself and the general manager of Cleveland Cliffs, Brian M. Garpala, to move forward with this lease and execute it.
I'll proudly support it. Is there any other discussion, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Dick. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing for the ski club, the city of Ishpeming, and the country. Thank you. We look forward to being a partner for years. Okay, moving on. Number 21, discussion related to snow removal. You want to start this? How do we want to handle this one, gentlemen and ladies?
The first thing I want to tell you is we don't have enough time in the evening. to finish discussing this.
Mhm.
For myself, I don't always agree with Mike Tonkin over the years, but I do on this one. I went up in his alley, and that's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. If I had my new truck, I wouldn't have drove down it, and that's the God's truth. We have problems. Mr. Schooler made some good points. We can't, I don't want to call it nitpick, but we can't Spotify our solution. We have to go way back, look at equipment, look at manpower,
Yep.
look at our current practices. And again, with the stuff I got going, I didn't get a good look at the snow
Same,
plan.
neither did I.
But I don't want to go into another winter flying by the seat of our pants.
Nope.
We have a good opportunity for council to review this. And I think that within the next, I'm going to ask for another special meeting as part of my report, but
Yep.
I think as part of our snow control plan, it should be a special meeting designated only to look at snow removal.
I agree. I think we've heard from the public, and I've been hearing from the public for a long time, that they want, that they have had a lot of legitimate issues. And I did take my vehicle down Mr. Tonkin's alley, and I did it very, very slowly. Yeah, I think we definitely need to review this. I think we need to come up with a way to review it.
So I'm not opposed at all to having having some sort of a different discussion, a more in-depth. I think rather than the plan, I don't, I think a plan is helpful to look at. What I think I would rather hear about is what are the current challenges to this plan, where are the opportunities for improvement, and what are the plans for improvement. I think obviously everyone has heard a lot about plowing and the condition of the streets in the past 4 or 5 months. Those have really become items that are very concerning to lots of people, both from the use side of it and also from the management side of it. I think that some things that we need to take into consideration, both when we listen to discussion about it and also when we participate in discussion about it and when we plan for it, is that I think that our winters have changed. And if you look at this winter, I'm sorry, there is no discussion that comes from the audience. This is a discussion that takes place up here. That the way in which snow has come with the freeze thaw has created, I mean, snow falls in different ways. The freeze thaw, I think, has created, has accelerated the decline of many streets. And I think that it's combined with aging infrastructure, both in I'll say there are other areas that have bad roads too, and there really are. Ishpeming is unique, and it's not unique at the same time, if that makes sense. But I think that there are unique combination of situations which are making accelerating the deterioration and making it a problem with the surface. I think there are unique challenges to that, and I think that maybe if we start to think about winter differently, and that maybe this freeze thaw where it's 40 degrees and sunny for a weekend, and then we get 3 feet of snow on Tuesday, and then it melts again by the weekend, that's not historically the way winter has been, but that is the way that it has been in the past 5 or 10 years, and the way that it has been trending. And so perhaps we need to revisit some planning in a way that better counteracts that type of weather pattern. And so I would be more interested in discussing the challenges from the management side and understanding what are the DPW's biggest challenges. What is preventing them from being able to provide superior service to the residents of the community, and what is hindering what they need from us? What can we do to help them? Is it more manpower? Is it different equipment? Is it different schedules? Is it like what is that that it would be actionable from our side. If we're just going to complain about it and say that this is bad and this needs to change, that's great. We don't have any, we need something that's concrete that we can
Yes.
use to change that.
And I want to piggyback off of that too. If there's equipment out there that we may need to look at buying, because it would do a better job cleaning sidewalks, streets, alleys, I think that would be beneficial for us to see. I mean, we had a really rough winter, but we've also had, like you said, this is trending a lot differently than it was 100 years ago, 50 years ago. And it is hard to plan for a snowstorm that hits May 4th and dumps 2.5 feet. I think that obviously was an anomaly, but that we're probably going to start seeing more often, like you said. But I think if we do come up with a plan, the citizens feel like they've had a little bit of a chance to air their feelings. I think we would be in a much better position down the road. And I think we'd also be in a position down the road where if the public felt they had input on the actual plan itself, when we do have a bizarre storm like that, and it's hard to get things cleaned because you'll be wrecking equipment or wrecking people's property, I think they might be a little more understanding too.
One thing I think, Your Honor, that we have to start is what I just did a minute ago with Michael. He's right. And that's not a council response. We need to admit, and then we need to ask for a timeout. Let's have a truce. Give us the summer to start planning this out.
Thank you.
But I think that I'm sure there's a problem. I'm just speaking for myself, but I'm sure there's a problem. There's problems in several areas.
Yep.
Until we admit there's a problem, we have no way to fix it.
No, and
So like Lindsay said, we go back to the equipment, to the manpower, to the issues. But the first thing we need to do is say, you know what, citizens, taxpayers, you're right. Somewhere we've dropped the ball, and it's nobody's fault but the five of us.
I firmly agree to that, and I've been pushing something like this now for many, many months, and I think that we're at a much better place as a council to where we can actually sit down and iron this out. I think we're all starting to understand more of what the public is bringing forward. So
I think I can't hold my tongue. I'm not going to hold my tongue. Not going to do it. Everybody seems to think that it's something that we're doing differently or doing wrong, that we're doing something wrong, that we need more equipment, that we need better equipment. Every single complaint that you guys handled, what was the one underlying factor?
You tell us.
Somebody in the public was using a piece of equipment to plow public roads. Mr. Tonkin admitted that he was in the alley for 3 hours plowing the alley. When people go in there and do that kind of thing, it makes it very difficult for us to do our job. Because now the snow is not in a normal formation. We have to try and move that snow. In his alley in particular, there's a lot of garages and a lot of fences. If I go in there with my big piece of equipment, I am now gonna blow out garage doors, which Kathy is well aware of because we do it all the time. We have to cut back on the people plowing on the roads. It is the biggest complaint that you will get from all DPW employees.
So that's what I want to know. I want to know what are your,
This,
and that's what I said, I want to know what are your challenges? What is causing, what's making it difficult for you to do that? During public comment, we stated about the, abandoned vehicles that don't have license plates, vehicles that are left in alleys. I know that vehicles in my alley make plowing that a challenge. If that is a challenge to having that alley plowed correctly, then that's something that needs to be addressed. Maybe it's an ordinance, change to an ordinance, maybe it's a change.
it's an enforcement of an ordinance.
But I think another part of this problem too, though, is why is it taking, I'm not trying to be accused or
Nope, I'm not. And I know where you're gonna, I know the question.
why is it taking so long for these things to be plowed so that people feel that they need to use their own personal permit to be able to get out?
Mhm.
The only word I can say, and I hate to say it, but impatience. We have a scheduled route that we go to. It's not like we're deliberately not doing this person's driveway or not doing this one. We have a route. We try to get to them as fast as we can. We have guys coming in working 16-hour shifts. On top of that, we might get a water main break. We had, what, 5, 6 of them this year on top of the snowstorm. We have to quit plowing to go take care of that. Then, yes, and I understand people need to get out. They do get out or they find a way, but when they're plowing snow into the wrong areas, that makes our job 100 times more difficult. It's physically impossible.
We have, and this is exactly what I was trying to get at. We have several problems here, and we gotta keep going back. Now, you just stated something. I'd rather be sitting here with Mike Tonkin bitching at me because he got a ticket plowing a public alley. Why wasn't he reported to police for moving snow in a public fairway and then sent up there for enforcement?
We will be. We started it towards the end of the year, then it got towards, well, we removed the winter parking ban because we got summer basically in April, and then we got winter again in May and April.
Well, and then the other question I would have is, we have major streets, we have local streets, we have alleys. Is that alley treated different than the alley by the church over there?
No alley is treated differently. There's no alley.
If it's the only access for those people, we have to get a system that says, you know what, these alleys have to be plowed as a street.
I'm saying it's not any, there's an alley route that we do, and they do it very well. I'm not saying that we don't do the alleys before we do this. There are guys that are specifically in alley plows. There are guys that are specifically in major streets. There are guys that are specifically in local streets. We do get the job done. We might not get it done as fast as everybody wants to. There are a lot of underlying things that are going on.
True.
When you guys were talking about why didn't the sidewalks get done this last storm? The reason, that was my call, and it's totally my call. But that amount of snow had to be hauled away. There was no place to haul it to. All of our snow dumps are dirt. We literally buried one of our snow plows up in the hills in a normal place that is frozen all year long, but because of that storm and the roads being thawed out, we buried that truck and it sat there for 3.5 days before we could even attempt to go up there. The reason that we don't plow the roads full width in a end of April, beginning of May storm is because road restrictions are on. Those roads are breaking up. If I send my guys with those heavy pieces of equipment to scrape really close to the curb and that, all you're gonna end up with is blacktop in your yard, period. So.
And these things are, and this is not to blame
No,
you.
I know, but
all these things are understandable and they're educational. But now I'm gonna throw one more missing link in, is communication. And I understand what you're saying about 3rd Street and the sidewalks. I understand. The explanation makes it very clear. Us 5 people should have been notified right after or during that storm that there's nothing we can do about this. It ain't gonna happen. So when a taxpayer calls and said, the kids are walking in the street, you can say, well, we're kind of in a bind here. We're not able to do it, or we're working on it, or.
Well, and actually, in my opinion, more importantly than us 5 being notified of it, the general public should be notified of it.
Yep.
Well, yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so, and this goes to, so I think that, right, this discussion is good, right? There are some challenges, there are some misconceptions, and there are some educational communication pieces that need to go to the public. All of these things are contributing to a comment of, a generalized comment of snow plowing in this city is crap, right? But it's really all of these other things that contribute to that sort of generalized opinion. And I think that we have identified a number of those, but I do think that a lot of it is communication. I think that actually a lot of the problems that we face and a lot of the things that we hear about as council people, as staff members, et cetera, really have to do with a lack of communication and a lack of education close to the residents and business owners. And to take this a step further, and several people, or at least one person sitting in the room, we've had this conversation, is that is in large part why I supported the contract with Siren. Because
Absolutely.
we don't
Mhm.
really, we don't have the
Absolutely.
capacity, we don't have the expertise to handle really good citywide communications and education coming from the city to educate and inform residents
Mhm.
about the day-to-day operations that happen within the city. And so that is extremely valuable to me, and I think that that is a large part of why we have misconceptions and misunderstandings and angst about the services or lack of services or perceived lack of services within the city. And I think that that contract with Siren, and they are doing work for us, they have done things for us, and that isn't the only thing that they do, and it isn't the only thing that people would see or could measure all of that, but I do believe that that is a step in the right direction, and I think that as we get further into our contract and working with them, that there are opportunities for further education and communication that could help clear up a lot of this, or would provide an opportunity for that. And so I know that contract in particular was discussed and was somewhat controversial in the amount of money that was spent on it, but I see that as a solution to a lot of the problem that we have. And I think we have just highlighted some of that in some of the areas.
And then
I do want to, when you said misconceptions, I do want to clarify a couple things. And the biggest one is when people say that, especially me, if you're going to sit there and say that I don't care about my job, you obviously don't know me, and you obviously don't know my crew. My guys work their butts off. End of that story. The other misconception is, and I've dug around into this, and nobody can give me the document, there is no safe routes to school. It's a misconception. Yes, we do plow a route to the school. The school started the program, but it never got to fruition. It never got finalized, so there isn't a legal safe routes to school. We are in the process of working with the school to figure out how we can get that document done so that we can get more funding for that specific thing. The other thing that I'd like to mention is, I know everybody always runs around and says the 4-inch rule. I don't have a 4-inch rule. If his department are the guys that are out in the streets, and they work great with us. If his guys feel that I need to send somebody out to go salt a certain area or do something, my guys are on it right away. There is no 4-inch rule. There might be times where you'll get 6 inches or 8 inches of very fluffy snow that guys can drive through or people can drive through that doesn't need attention right that second, that we won't go and do. There might be a time where you get a 1/2 inch of severely packed snow that my guys have to send everybody out at 1 o'clock in the morning. The other thing that we're gonna try this year, because it affects 2 seasons, we use a lot of sand salt. Next year, we're gonna be using a lot more salt. It's gonna cut back on the amount of salt or the amount of sand that we're using on the roads, which means come springtime, we're not gonna be out there sweeping and listening to the complaints that we're not doing a good enough job. It's a lot of salt or a lot of sand that you try to get rid of at the end of the year. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah. So my question relates to Main Street and Division. You know, several times over the last winter, the berms were in front of those businesses, and they were either having to shovel a path in, or people were climbing over snowbanks to get into a business. I mean, is there a way that we can get that plowed, those snowbanks removed, whether it's with a larger snow blower into the dump truck? I mean,
The shorter answer is sure, if you want to hire 10 more people. Because right now, our guys plow, which puts the berm on the sidewalk. The second crew comes by, they plow the sidewalk, they put it back out there.
And that's, yeah.
Then we have to wait a couple days so that we can get the whole town done. Then we come back, we pull everything off the streets. I don't know of too many communities that do haul as much snow as we do. We do it a lot, way more than any community does.
Yeah.
And I'll use the sister city or the neighboring community. Nagani, if you go into Nagani, theirs are like 5-6 feet tall before they actually haul the main street. We do it every single storm.
Well, and you just hit one thing where I was going next was, do we need to look at hiring more people for DPW to make your life and their lives easier.
We have enough guys, it takes, I mean, you gotta remember how much area we're talking about plowing. It's a very
That's
large plow.
why I just asked that.
But if you do hire, right, but if you hire the guys, then I'm gonna need more equipment. The city just can't afford it. It's a balancing act between what we can and cannot do and can and cannot purchase. I feel that we have the right amount of crew, the right guys in the right seats. It's just, we're all learning and we're doing our best job to do the best that we can. There are changes.
Going down the yellow brick road here.
So that's why, yeah, I think that it's important that, like you said, we can come up with like deliverables. What the issues are from the community, what the issues are from the W standpoint, and I think that we need to have a discussion solely dedicated to this entire thing. I think it would be very
So I would just ask that if we, I don't know if we're going to table this or schedule a separate meeting or what, but I guess I would ask the acting manager that I would, my preference would be to see a list of challenges that you think are the most impeding to being able to perform and to deliver services that the residents want, and possible solutions to those challenges. And maybe it's communication, maybe, and you said it's not staff, but maybe it's staff, maybe it's communication, maybe it's, abandoned vehicles out of alleys prior to winter.
I agree with what you're saying, Vince, but I think we're missing, and I said it earlier, I think we gotta go back farther than that. You have to determine what is the goal. Is there 10 alleys in the city that are primary
Entrances.
parking, entrances for people? And we need to have that information as well.
I agree.
Because we can't really prescribe a solution without that information, like a game plan kind of thing.
And I also think we need to.
We'll ask for the same information.
You know, I also wanted to touch on one other thing too, about people that are plowing public roads, because I think obviously there was a little misconception on what I was talking about there, because are you using the definition as they're plowing an entire street? Are you plowing right in front of your own home? Or are you plowing just so somebody can get to a stop sign? You know, you said that that's a big part of the problem.
You're not supposed to operate a vehicle, any vehicle, plowing any snow onto the city street. That means like if you're.
None of the above.
But I'm gonna also say this though, if you're plowing in front of your spot, or you're plowing where you park.
Where are you putting that snow?
Well, that's a question.
That is my question. That is my question. Where are you putting the snow?
I can answer that.
No, I'm not.
I can answer that, Jason.
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly where they're putting the snow. They're putting the snow on their neighbors' parking lots or their neighbors' yards, and we're getting complaints about that. They're also bringing it down the street. They're dumping it in businesses' lots, which we have several complaints of that as well. So the problem is they're moving it from one place to a different place. And right now, I don't even have an ordinance to where I can say, when it comes to pushing snow onto your neighbor's property, which we had, I would say 10 calls a day. It was nonstop. There's nothing I can do about that.
Right.
Our guys can't do about it.
So this is what I want to see, is a list of challenges. And I don't know that we know what these questions are, or what I think generally the goal is to do a better job. I don't know enough about the nuances of plowing the streets to come up with a definitive goal to say we are going to do X, Y, and Z next year. What I want to hear is what the manager reports that the staff collectively, the police department, the DPW, thinks are the biggest challenges to them being able to provide well-cleared, timely cleared streets that make residents happier than they're going to be about having snowy streets. And then we can talk about what to do about them. But until we have that list of challenges, we are not going to come up with them. The answers have been provided so far by the DPW foreman and the police chief. I want to know what they think, and the manager would be the one to collect that and to bring something forward.
Also, like, if you're going to set something, we need to do this,
we can maybe us ourselves, write a question that we have about issues that we have. So then he could reach out to whoever he needs to get a reason or an answer or response, like, why wasn't this done this way, something along those lines.
And I guess I'll just ask one other question is, if you see somebody that they're 40 feet away from a stop sign and they're just getting stuck and stuck and stuck, what do they do, or what does the person that wants to help them do?
Give them the number for a record. The law says you don't plow. Period. You don't plow across street, so when you have to plow across the street, you better clean it up pretty good when you're done.
When I first started, the very first thing I did was prevent people from plowing on the stop signs. And you guys I know a couple of you were a little bit hurt, not hurt, but you had questions and complaints about it. It's still against the ordinance to block the intersections. And that's what a lot of people were doing, was they were putting snow where they knew we would come by to get it. But we're so busy doing other things that we can't run back and do it. So then the next storm, your snowbank is this far out. Then they do it again, and we still can't get to it in time, so then it's this far out. Then we have to haul the whole town. There's rules in place for it.
Which is why I've said that, you know what, push the snow into my front yard if you want, because I'm on a corner, and they have done that. So
I'm not allowed to do that
There's your
either.
new snow dump.
It's been done, yeah, but
So I think
anyway.
people are plowing snow, right, out of an idea that they're helping the situation. And it's illegal and it's not advised because it doesn't help the situation. And so I think part of that's an education process. And, if someone's stuck, I live at the T of York Street, and I like to say that's kind of a trap, because it's like downhill in every direction, and snow kind of accumulates there. I don't even know how many people I've ever pushed out of there and helped trouble. You've got a big truck and someone's stuck, hook them up and pull them out and pull them out, if you can drive. I think that's the solution, right? Gets them out of there. It hasn't created an additional situation that the DPW has to deal with. And
Another huge
That's
problem in this,
liability, though.
I hope this ends our discussion for tonight, but we have not built a city to park 4-car families.
No,
We
that's
haven't.
true too.
And we have places like Mike's house, my house, where there's retaining walls. So you can't even get in your own front yard. And we have to address that somehow, whether it's by leaving alone or what we gotta do. There's places where what Billy's talking about is the only alternative. So you try to do it as tastefully and easily as you can. So we can't, there's a lot of things we gotta talk about.
We do need to set a special meeting, and I'll make one more clarification. The snow that I pushed off of a road went right into my own yard.
Right, and that is the correct way to do it.
And
If
it
you are
went right into
plowing
my own
snow,
yard.
you can, I'm glad that you would plow snow
What?
off of my road into your yard.
All I did is they
But the
were
problem is,
stuck,
people
plowed
do
it
it the
into my
opposite
yard.
way, is they
So-
plow it out to the street and expect us to do
I
it.
would not do that. I agree with you on that. Mine went right into my own yard, and it helped, but, okay.
For the special meeting, I believe we should wait for the city manager to prepare.
That's fair.
But I will relay the information, because listening to the conversation here, we know the public has concerns and challenges, and they've expressed those. Staff has got concerns, our plow drivers have concerns, we have enforcement concerns. And also, there's other staff, the staff in the front office that are taking these questions and relaying this message. That's another one. So maybe looking at challenges from these very different angles will help you get a better understanding of whether it's a communication problem, whether it's an education problem, whether it's an equipment problem. And I think those are things that, as you progress through this, keep those in mind and start looking at those challenges, because from those you'll be able to find the solution.
So
There might be a lot of different.
One thing I suggested was there are some systems out there that you can use. Say if a council member gets a complaint from a citizen, or they get something that they're having an issue with, you could go right and type that into the computer and it would pop up in the city's database. Now, I've used a program like that where you keep track of all these comments and complaints, and that it gets moved up the chain of
That's a
command.
possible solution.
And I think it's a great idea because I
Yeah,
used
I
it.
don't even want to talk about solutions until we have a list of challenges that come from staff.
You need
I
to
get it,
move
but
on.
I'm just saying that would be a good idea to consider for what we have to report
Because we
on.
don't know what the challenges are.
We should
It's
move
not
on.
just on that. Okay, all right, so we will set a special meeting once Craig gets back, and we will go from there. All righty. Moving on to the old business. We're going to my right to Pat. What do you got?
Right to me. Well, I would like to request at this time that we have a special meeting and schedule it tonight for the general problem of the condition of our streets.
Okay.
We have grinding solutions that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
We have the guy that Mr. Schooler talks about. I've used him many times for parking lots.
Yep.
We have Farner that works on the highway and puts the grease, the tar with the toilet paper over it.
Mm-hmm.
We have options, and I think we need to decide a different plan because we are a little bit too far gone.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Lindsay. I don't think we're the worst by any stretch.
No, we're not.
But I think that as a council, we need to immediately review our plan
I agree.
before we put the next phase going this summer.
And I think one other thing that would be helpful if both, well, maybe not, maybe both, maybe one, but it would be good to have an authorization for Craig, myself, whatever, to continue the discussions that we started in Lansing for like the
Well,
supplemental budgets and stuff like that.
That again, is something to discuss at this meeting.
Because,
But
yeah.
we didn't get nothing out of it so far, so
Well,
I'm not supporting anymore.
That's because, well, the budget hasn't even been finalized yet.
I would
so
like to
We're nowhere near there.
schedule this meeting for the 2 weeks from tonight, if, as we discussed earlier, if people can make it.
June
21st.
I'm open on that one.
Do we want it earlier? I don't care about time.
I can make anything after 4.
Get it better for staff to have it at 5.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying.
5 o'clock is fine.
If it's okay with Diz and Lindsay. Okay. All right. Special meeting to discuss the roads.
Let's call a question on that, and make it an official.
Yeah, I was just asking if there was anything else you wanted to add to that special meeting.
I will second the scheduling of a special meeting for.
Okay. Well, I think we want to have it in.
Just to get it on the record. Requested by council.
And we had talked about the possibility of adding anything else to that special meeting, so in discussion, I'm asking if we want to do
Negative.
that. I think that's the only thing on the agenda
Yes.
for this one?
And advise staff not to add anything either.
Perfect, okay. I'm good with that, thank you for that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we are having a special meeting at 5 PM on June 21st to talk about the condition of our roads and infrastructure. Good enough?
Plan. About a plan.
Yep.
I think we're well aware of the condition.
Start printing money. And also, is Mary and Becky still here from Salisbury? It was quite a coincidence. I was riding in your neighborhood today.
Same.
You saw a nice pickup driving along. I looked at those houses some time ago with the city manager. And
Yeah.
yes, I agree.
Yep.
And as long as I'm still taking air, nobody's gonna bulldoze Salisbury into the ground.
Same here.
Or National Mine. Or National Mine.
We appreciate Salisbury.
We have to look at that. Your comment about the 9 to 13-year-olds hit home because there was 2 of them rattling the car up there when I was there. And I looked and the doors are open.
Yep.
So it's definitely gonna get some attention.
Yep,
It's definitely gonna get some
I
attention.
agree, because I was up there today as well, looking at a road and not, but everybody, we need to maintain decorum up here, guys,
Are
so.
we still on old business? Are we still on Pat's old business?
I'm done.
Pat, you're done?
Those are
No,
my
no
two
any,
issues.
okay, Diz. Stu. Lindsay.
I would like to bring up, and resurrect the discussion about the ordinance, about the RVs,
Mhm.
recreational vehicles. As I stated earlier in the meeting, that was brought to us to help solve some problems
Mhm.
that are occurring within the city. I think that we all heard that as it was written, was unacceptable
Yep.
to the public. I do think, and I had a conversation with Chad, in which I think there are ways to revisit that ordinance that may be
Yep.
more acceptable to the public and would still work to meet some of the goals of that. So I would be interested in revisiting that and having another look at a different draft of that.
I would too, because there are some problems, like people camping for 3 or 4 people camping, different people camping in different campers or tents in someone's yard for a long time. There's campgrounds for that. Parking RVs on the street, that can be a problem that people can't see around. So we do have to figure out a happy medium here.
On that same note, I think that the ones that Chad are concerned with and that we rightfully should be concerned with are very obvious.
Yeah.
It's not our gentleman here with his family sleeping in the yard that are visiting.
Yep.
It's the ones that are stealing water, they're dumping their sewage out behind the place.
Yep.
And we've looked into this in the past, and we get no support from the health community.
Exactly.
And I think we need
to
get in touch with the health committee, or the
Health
health department, and get the county on board for this.
I agree.
Why can we have people that live in a house with no utilities, or an RV with no utilities or stolen utilities? That's a good place to start, because they're obviously breaking the law.
And
So I agree with what you're saying. I think we gotta go at it.
I am still going back to having conversations with a few people who brought this up a while ago. You know, when you're parking an RV on a street and you can't see around it, there were fender benders, you know, so.
And I think, Chad, you had something you wanted to.
I just want to speak on it real quick if I can.
Yes.
When Pat talked about the health department, we've reached out to the health department on these houses that have no electricity, people are living in there, and there's nothing we can do about it. The blight residents that we've had talk about, we do write notices, we've written citations, we just literally can't go into someone's property and take that house down. I wish we could.
Mhm.
But when we don't get helps from the courts, people go pay the fines. They can pay the fines, but it doesn't mean they have to go pick it up, or it doesn't mean they have to tear down their own house. The residents in Salisbury are terrible, the ones that she's referred to. Not those houses. The ones that she has referred to, we have looked at, and there is a blight thing that we have started. It's on the list. We're trying to do what we can, but there's barriers that we can't get over, and there's not much we can do. When it comes to the RVs on the road, the reason why this was brought to my attention, there's several things. We had people living in some RVs where I had several ladies that would call me every morning, and they're having their morning coffee, and the guy in the RVs, because they have no bathroom, are outside using the bathroom on the streets. And that's one of the problems we had. I can't tell them to move that RV, because it is private property. And we try to catch them doing other things and go that route, but them are the issues we had. We also had a young man hit by a car last year from an RV park that people don't see. We've had numerous close calls, which led to injuries that could have been a lot worse. Luckily, we've had no deaths at this point, but them are the issues. I mean, it's not that we're trying to take away people's, rights to have RVs and have family over and that. They ain't the main issues, but there are a lot of issues. There's a lot of people who have spoke about the negative side of this, but how many people have come to my office on the positive side of this? They're not the ones here yelling, because they're not the ones that feel comfortable talking in front of people. And I think that's the misconception is, it's not, we might have 10 or 11 people that are upset about that, but we don't have all the people that are coming here that need this stuff, that are afraid to come talk. And I just really would hate to see a kid get killed because someone's parking on the street. And I can't do anything about it, because I'm the one that has to live with it when I go pick that kid up. And if there's things that we can do to make it safer for our kids, or safer for anyone in public, then that's what we should do.
I agree.
And I agree, people have the right to their public space and, you know, their toys and have fun. That's not what we're trying to do. I did take a lot of comments and stuff was removed from that instantly. How that came about, how I wrote that one, was I didn't just make it up out of my, head. It was, I went to different cities and how they handled things, the issues they had, and kind of pieced it together. My understanding was, when it happens, it comes to the council for the first reading. It is then spoke about that in the public. And when those comments come back, I have a right, or have the ability, to take those comments into consideration, change it, and come to the second reading. Unfortunately, with that one, the news decided that they were gonna put out something that wasn't correct. People in the public, unfortunately, said it was already approved, which stirred up a bunch of things, which it was never approved. So there is a process we do. And it is, so the public does have, something to say, and you guys have what to say, and we come together, we all gotta work together. But when everyone's yelling and screaming, because they don't really know what's going on, or they don't even come talk, I had one person out of all the people complaining, I had one person that picked up the phone and called me and asked to talk about it. If you have I will talk to anyone about it. But if you want to complain and complain about it, nothing's gonna get done if you're not willing to sit down and talk about it. So I can tell you our point of view, so I can hear your point of view, and we can come to a conclusion that fits better for everyone. If we're just gonna have yelling and screaming match, it ain't gonna work.
And I want to just add, our chief of police is very approachable. He's excellent with members of the community, and he's doing a phenomenal job. So I just want to add to that, if you've got a problem, give him a call. Stop down there and say something. He does a phenomenal job and he's very approachable.
And I would also like to say, we at the police department do answer the phone, and I will call back anyone that leaves a message.
Yes, he will.
And I do it all day, every day. So don't be afraid, please come talk to me, or stop down, have a cup of coffee, let's just have a discussion. It's the only way we're gonna figure this out.
So to the end of that ordinance and a second attempt at writing that ordinance, do you feel as if you have received enough feedback, since only one person told you directly, do you feel that you have heard the feedback, the public feedback that was given to? Okay, so do you feel like you have enough information to take another crack at writing that? Okay.
Would you like us to have another public hearing? A workshop?
I would rather that we put a level in of council review and discussion before a public hearing.
I agree.
Get it fine-tuned, then do the public hearing.
Yes.
And
So I think we could do a couple of different ways, and maybe Kathy or Caroline can make a recommendation on the process for this. If you have something, you could send it to us, email it to us, and we could either email you back directly or make notes on it. Could we have a draft for review at a council meeting that doesn't constitute a first reading, that doesn't put it into that process?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
So
let's do that.
I think we don't want to skip the city manager. It should go from the chief to the manager.
Yes,
and then
thank you.
the council.
Normally how I do it, how I did it already, and then I send one, and I send
So that has not yet made it to us, so if we could have that, and then we could put it on, say, the agenda for the July meeting as a review of draft, and then that doesn't put it into that.
August,
No
first
action.
reading
There's
set,
no
yeah.
action, if we have feedback, we can continue to comment on it, if we say this looks pretty good, let's put it on the next agenda.
For first reading,
reading.
but, so that,
And that keeps it at a really no action level, and I think we make the public feel more comfortable about the discussion, and that it's not actually in that
and
process.
one thing to add to that is, that way, there wouldn't be no official action on that, or it wouldn't go into effect until September, because we are setting several months aside to actually come up with a plan on this. And I think that's a very good strategy.
So the acting city manager could request that be sent to our council,
Yeah.
and we can look at it, and then put it on the agenda at the next meeting.
Perfect. Any other old business, Lindsay?
I don't have any other business.
I do. I've been trying to get a blight committee meeting going for over a year, and I think we need to figure this one out, because not having a blight committee meeting for over a year and a half, we need to fix that. Or a year, wasn't it?
I believe that's in the works.
It is? Oh.
There's an email.
I'll never find it.
On the status of it, including references to what the LSCP is doing, et cetera. It's about 2 pages long.
All right, I'm gonna have to get with Craig, because I don't even know if I've seen that email, but a lot of stuff.
After the meeting, you're on.
Yeah, after the meeting, I don't have it, I don't think. Okay, think that was my only thing for old business, was the blight committee. Okay, moving on. Is there any old business from our attorney or our manager, acting manager? Okay, moving on to new business. Go to Lindsay this time. Stu. Diz. Pat.
Negative.
Nothing from me. Anything from our attorney or our acting manager? Nothing for new. Okay, moving on. Public comment session number 2, 3 minutes.
Mike Tompkins, 612 North 3rd Street.
Once, let us make sure we get the camera.
Are we okay?
Can you tap the mic, make sure it's working? Okay.
You can't hear me?
Well, we
You
still.
can hear me.
We still have Zoom
Open in
World,
very large groups.
and
Okay.
eventually we'll get Charter back at some point.
Are we started yet, or have I lost half a minute?
We're just trying to get the video. Don't worry, Mike, I'm keeping this going already.
Okay. All right. I'd like to clear up a few misconceptions from, I'm glad Pat brought it up. I live on 3rd Street. We don't have access to the street from our homes. We have to use our alley. So we consider it almost a street. I've been living there for 60 years, okay, plus. I have plowed that alley since 1970 for our neighbors. And it's city snow that I'm plowing. And it's not going out into the streets. It's going into our yards, our little cubby holes that we can stuff snow in. I had a pile one year that was between Belconia and I. It was 16 feet wide, 10 foot high, and 40 feet long. Now, did that come just from his yard? No, it did not. It came from my front end loader, clearing the neighbors out and piling it there. I have never taken our snow and put it in a city street, period. Now, the snow that I got caught moving, that was at the end of the alley. That was street snow that got crowded out into the alley so people couldn't get out of the alley. I took my end loader from Salisbury location, took it home, took 12 loads, put it down the street on city property. It was city snow that I moved. The officer got a complaint, somebody's moving snow. The officer came up, Mr. Taunton, yes, you're moving snow improperly, there's been a complaint. And I said, guilty as charged. And I explained to him where the snow came from, he pointed it to him, he said, we can work it out, you just put the snow back where you got it from, and everything's forgiven. And I thank that officer in blue for that help, because there could have been a stink made about it. But I'm just saying that all the snow in our alley, and where does the city snow go? Down the alley. When the bucket loader drops his bucket at the end of the alley, it's 300 feet down one way with a 5-yard bucket loader. There's a lot more than 5 yards of snow in that stretch. It all gets pushed into everybody's driveway in front of their garage doors. We remove it from there and put it on our own property. So that's the first thing I would like to get straight. And the biggest problem that we saw in the city is somebody that has experience plowing snow commercially and for ourselves for umpteen years is that when you, if Pat can confirm this, Pat, you keep up with your snow as it comes?
Try to.
You try to, exactly, you try to. And also, this year was not a tough year for snow. You should have been here a few years ago when we had 350 inches of snow rather than 200. We had a blizzard of 92. That, if we ever have another one of those, which we're liable to have, the ski club is here, I assume. I plowed snow out in the city.
10 seconds.
10 seconds? Oh, okay. I helped the ski club out many times in the 1980s. We had snow up to up here. And we have not even seen a tough year yet. So I just wanted to get a few things straight.
That's fair.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yep. Anybody else? Okay, go ahead.
Name and address again? Do you need it?
Yes, please.
Sarah Sands, 2 and 3 Angeline Street. I just wanted, if I can, a point of clarification on the ordinance 2-400, the fireworks.
Yeah.
Just wondering if anything actually changed with that in terms of hours and days.
I thought municipalities could tweak that one.
The ordinance is adopted.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, yeah.
Sure. Understood. I'm just wondering if it's changed from what was in place last year or anything like that, or, you know, the hours are updated on the website. It's all the same as it was last year. No problem.
Perfect.
Just wondering if there was any change. And then just one other point, I would say that as citizens, we do have a responsibility to understand what the council is putting forth, what our ordinances are, just as much as you have a responsibility to let us know what those are. So I agree that communication and transparency would be really helpful going forward. I know not everybody is gonna do their due diligence to understand the things, but at the end of the day, it is our responsibility as citizens. So transparency and communication would be very, very welcome and helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, anybody else in the room? Public comment? Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of things. Is it possible, for people that come to these public meetings to be able to have a handout of the first reading of these things, so that when you guys are discussing it, that we can know what you're discussing?
Yeah, it's on our website.
The whole packet is on the website before the meeting.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
And sometimes, depending upon how busy things are, it could take a little while, but it will be up there prior to the council meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to ask, during the times that we need to get out of our driveways and we've had a recent snowfall, is it a problem if us private citizens move the snow, blow the snow to the side of the street, the same spot that the city would put it? Is that gonna be a problem for the city?
I was just gonna say, I don't know if I can answer that, but we've been kind of lax on that tonight, so.
I understand you have legitimate questions that can be answered by the people sitting here. They don't need to be answered at this moment. That's a conversation that you can come in and ask, or you can call and ask, or you can say afterwards and ask. If we answer every question that everybody has at this point in time in the meeting, we will be here for the rest of the night. So
Okay, so can I,
comment to us, and then
Yeah.
so which one of you guys, when would I ask that question to?
It's always the mayor, always the mayor.
Always.
Come on, all right. All right,
I'll
okay,
talk to you
yeah.
after.
That's fair. Come to the mayor. I'm good with that. Yep. That's part of my job. Okay. And I will announce something a little later too, my report.
John Sawyer.
Yep.
73 Michigan Street. We could go on and on and on about snow removal. To answer his question, as long as you're not drilling into the street, that's basically, you can put it on the snowbank, and it's not in the street, because me, as a plow driver that I've plowed before.
Yeah, guys, we got to keep comments directed this
Okay,
way.
so
We will.
On the snowbank, that's all I'm gonna say, but my big thing is, I want to ask, with the Suicide Hill, is that a public, where Cedar Beach is this public use? What other than the Ski Hall of Fame, I mean, using it for ski jumps is, I know it's fenced off now, but what else can we use this property for? And Cedar Beach, when I was a kid, we used to be able to go out there, and now it's all blocked off, the road's trashed, basically, and it's lack of.
I think that's probably a question for the city manager, but we.
So, yeah, right, is like
And-
Cedar Beach CCI property, that's.
That is, we're just gonna.
It was just I thought when you guys were talking
some of
about
those
it, so,
questions right now, yeah.
I mean, I can ask later, but.
Yeah, you're gonna have to probably approach the city manager on that one, because that's not an easy answer, but.
Okay, so, and then like, we could go on about snow removal, basically. All I can suggest is maybe hiring seasonal people for helping out in the winter months. I mean, a lot of people get laid off for seasonal work. And if we can hire people to do that for seasonal, and then they go back to their regular jobs in the summer months. That's a thought, so that's all I got, really.
Okay, I was just gonna say you had 10 seconds left, okay. Is there anybody else for public comment? No, all right. No, okay, is there anyone on Zoom? No, there's not. Okay, moving on to mayor and council reports, start with Pat.
I only have one, and it is a big thank you to the North Iron Church. They had, I would estimate, 2 or 3 dozen people out cleaning up our parks and the flower beds, and all day Sunday, I believe it was. They had a lot of people out, so a big thank you to them. And we live next door to one of the youth ministers. And the other thing is they did that in Marquette and up in the Lots area as well. They have campuses in both places, so very well done, and thank you very much, and that is all.
Is.
So I was just going to mention that on Sunday, July 2nd, it is the very first induction ceremony for the Ishpeming School District Halls of Excellence. The public, it is open to the public, there are tickets available for purchase for $25. They can be done electronically, or you can contact the school. So there's 12 inductees in our first year.
Awesome.
Going to be an annual event, ceremony in the auditorium with public refreshments to follow.
I'll make sure I put it on my hair. Okay. Stewie. No? Hands.
I have a couple of things. I guess I would, I didn't see the North Iron Church. I did know that they were out cleaning up this weekend, and I did see the bags of garbage that they had that were waiting for cleanup. There were a couple of other things that happened this month that were really well attended. In particular, the Gus Macker basketball tournament happened on like a really awesome window of weather, and I went down just to kind of see what was going on, and it was packed down there. I think there were more people in attendance than there had been last year.
Without question.
So that was really neat to see, especially because in my mind, it felt like it happened really early in May, it's also really better for weather, and so got really good weather and really well attended, and it was like, I don't know, super successful. And then also that weekend, and I'm going to fail to remember the group that organized it, but there was a group of volunteers that went out and cleaned military gravestones in the cemetery, and they had a very big, they had a very decent sized group that went out and spent the afternoon, Saturday, St. James Bus-Macker, cleaning gravestones ahead of Memorial Day, and they did a great job. And it was really nice. Also, if you haven't noticed, the playground has started to go in for the school. The middle school playground over there where we vacated that alley a couple of months ago, and that renewal of the village for the playground equipment that's going in. And that's pretty exciting to see the school. Not really like our news to report on, but I think it's a really good thing to happen for the city, for the schools in that school. And then the last, I suppose, kind of answering a bit of Mr. Steele's question, and I may not be able to answer all of it, and since there is someone from the ski club here, they may be able to better answer this stuff. One thing in particular that, there's the ski jumping complex, or the ski jumping slide, but it's also the Newton Nordic Ski Complex, which does include also their Northern Jula trails, which are in that area, which I believe are included in that lease. And I am an avid cross-country skier in the wintertime, and I've heard the unfitted of the need some expanding of those trails. I use those trails on a regular basis, and so knowing that those are there and that lease has been extended, that's a big benefit to the community that I personally very much look forward to. And the ski club will provide the viewing and signage and all of the community of that system. So I really enjoy having that, and that is one of the benefits. I don't think the Cedar Beach is not, that area is not included in that piece of land, but those separate. It's separate. It is owned by Cliffs, but it's not included in this.
Exactly.
I believe, and someone who's more familiar with this could confirm, that it's just the ski jumping hills and
It is.
trail network.
So yeah.
And I think that concludes my report.
Yeah, it is, and historically, the city of Ishpeming has leased the land to the Ishpeming Ski Club for longer than I've been alive, and I'm 35. So in the ski club, they make the decisions. They are the leaseholders out there, and they have done a phenomenal job over the years, and hopefully that now that this is a 5-year or 25-year thing, we can maybe work a little better to make some improvements for them out there. But my council report, the Memorial Day ceremony was very, very well done, well attended. I got drafted into handing out the programs to everybody, and it was just a beautiful ceremony, and people were just very, very respectful, and a lot of positive conversations happened out there about the community. So not everything is bad in Ishpeming. There's a lot of good things in our quirky community. I also wanted to just recognize that my church, Bethel Lutheran Church, is going to be handing water bottles out at the Independence Day Parade, and just want to say farewell to our interim pastors. They've done a phenomenal job with starting to build more community engagement. And just wanted once again boost the Anatomy of a Murder showing on June 29th at the Peterson Auditorium, and special guests are Judge Michelle Rick on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals in Michigan, who is a regular guest and visitor to the Ishpeming area, and Bill knows her as well. She's phenomenal and just very, very intelligent. And then Michigan Supreme Court Justice Elizabeth Welch will also be up here, and they will be around to talk afterwards. They're both phenomenal people, very intelligent and just fun to be around. So make sure you check out those things that are going on. And I try to also thank a department for all their hard work once a month. And I've been really watching what's kind of going on with the police department. And I am just so thankful for Chad and all of our folks who work at the police department. We definitely are seeing many, many improvements in our community. And that a lot of it gets attributed to you guys, making sure you're out there. And people have noticed that the crime rate is going down a lot, so keep up the good work. I have regular coffee hours, and they continue to build in attendance, and that is the fourth Friday of every month at the Ishpeming Senior Center at 1 o'clock. Everybody's invited. There's always coffee and cookies. I try to do that for a number of reasons, but the last meeting was just unbelievably positive, and a lot of fun dialogue was had at that last one. So everybody's welcome. And then I just want to say that, June is Pride Month. So that's something that I feel very strongly about. So, Pride Fest will be coming up in a couple weekend, I think, in Marquette. So just want to mention that, and that I support our LGBTQIA community, and I'm an ally. So that's what I've got. Sorry, it was a long one. Okay, manager's report.
Okay, well, first off, I want to let everybody know that the CEDM Small Town and Rural Development Conference downstate. He's a speaker and a panelist on the rural capacity building service shop. So that's where he's at today. Just a couple updates on the Empire Street, UP Engineering, and the contractors have been in communication on punch lists and closeout items necessary to correct the work, the deficits, efficient work on that street. So UP has been coordinating on-site meetings with paving subcontractors, et cetera, to get that scheduled and on the works. And they should have a report for the council at the July meeting.
Excellent.
Just to reiterate what Pat said about the North Iron Church, they did do cleanup of the traffic circle out on the highway was one of their projects. They also cleaned up the little pocket park next to City Hall, that was one of them. And they also painted all the dugouts at the ball field.
Nice.
So those got a fresh coat of paint and got dressed up really nice. So good work by that crew, and all good things for us here. And then the last thing to give a note on is the old Oasis gas station that's in demolition. That is actually a state project through Eagle, and it's for the removal of the underground storage tank. So that's the project. That's a state project.
And the report on that was that there was no contamination.
That's good.
They did not leak.
Unless I got it in here. So that's the information to.
Yeah, Craig passed that on to me today, and I was so thankful for that. Okay, Caroline.
No report, thank you.
Any
Your Honor, I'll make a motion we adjourn.
I will support it. Okay, we are adjourned. So now is your chance to bug the council members, stuff like that.